Hello, people of the internet. Ian, also the Freedom Astrologer, once again here and recording another video. This time we're again on the topic of spiritual awakening through the help of astrology, or kind of putting spiritual awakening and translating some of the things that happen to us through the lens of astrology, as well as I'm sharing some pointers, some ideas, some ways of being that really come in handy. I think for you to know, and for some of you who are still, in that deep inquiry, deep exploration, to know and to kind of understand that what you're going through is almost like a natural order of things. We can say that because, in our modern society, a lot of let's say spiritual knowledge is suppressed, so it's not out there. It's not considered normal to know about spiritual awakening, what happens during spiritual awakenings, and I'm here to kind of shed light on it and for you to understand that this is kind of like a normal thing that is happening to you. Although at times difficult, it's nothing out of the super ordinary, let's say, just because a lot of people have suppressed it. So, but this video is already, we're talking about phase 5, the dark night of the soul here in this video. And I think it's one of my kind of favorite topics, yet definitely one of the most difficult phases during the spiritual awakenings. We'll share some of my own personal experiences, and we'll look at astrology. But for those of you who are just tuning into this mini series, go check the previous phases as well to kind of make sense of it, what we're doing here, what we're talking about here. But let's get into the dark night of the soul. So, as the name kind of entails, and I'm not the one, the other phases I've named myself, but in this case, this phase has been named, or let's say this time frame that a lot of people who are on the spiritual awakening path go through it. This has been named by a lot of other teachers before me, and you can find a lot of information as well about the dark night of the soul. But I will give you my understanding of this, as well as show you some astrology as well. So let's jump into some astrology at first, and then I will also share what are some of the things that you might be going through. So a lot of this dark night of soul, again, if you remember those of you who have watched the whole series, remember the first and second video, we talked a lot about Pluto transits. And this needs to be cleared. Harder Pluto transits, squares and oppositions from Pluto to your ascendant ruler, also the 8th house ruler we mentioned there. And we're again back after being in those more Jupiterian, high vibe, high energy, other kind of receiving wisdom and help kind of energies. Now we're back in the more dark, murky, transformational Pluto, difficult, painful, healing energies. So again, we're talking about, especially in this first example, I brought an interesting one to you. We have the ruler of the first, both ruler of the first, so Libra. Who doesn't know rulership, please go and check out my rulership video on this channel as well. But we have the ruler of the first, Venus, and the ruler of the 8th, Venus, in conjunction. So we're talking about conjunctions as well, oppositions and squares of Pluto to the ascendant ruler and the 8th house ruler. And in this case, we can also mention that the ascendant itself is getting a very wide square from Pluto as well, but just something for you to kind of remember as well, that when the ruler of the ascendant and the ascendant get conjunction and a square, it's kind of like definitely a double whammy, let's say. Let's put it that way. And important to understand, when these aspects happen to you by transit, by progression, these are, the I always struggle saying it out loud with Pluto transit especially, but it is there is no escape. Almost it's quite difficult to manage. As the name entails, the dark night of the soul, Pluto is all about transformation. And in this case especially, we have the 8th house. We have the 8th house ruler, which the 8th house is the natural house of Pluto, but it's also it's a lot to do with spiritual awakening itself. But remember, guys, the 8th house is some of those very deep, hidden, darker places that we have personally suppressed. These can be wounds, these can be psychological wounds, these can be painful wounds from the past. These darker themes that we have suppressed, we have put aside, and now Pluto comes in. And what does Pluto coming in really mean? It really means bringing it out to the light. So Pluto will, especially with opposition, squares, or conjunctions, it will make things so uncomfortable for you. And in this case, in the example of the dark night of the soul, it will bring a lot of those darker things that you maybe even didn't know about yourself, or you kind of knew about yourself, to the surface. So a lot of it happens through relationship, through some career thing, something happens in your life. Very often it is through either a romantic relationship or a friend relationship or a partnership of some sort, where these hidden darker things get reflected to you, and you see these patterns, these wounds that keep showing up in the world in the not most pleasant way. So maybe you do something, you start to understand that you subtly manipulate others, or you subtly understand that you want to actually control other people, because you might have experienced some pain in the past, and now instead of experiencing and being with that pain, you're controlling other people in your day-to-day experience. So this is one of the just an example of what are the themes and patterns that might be coming out. And some of these, please guys, so please understand this, some of these patterns that might be surfacing during this time, the dark night of the soul, these are patterns that you might not be even aware of that exist in your consciousness, or these are so you've used to do them so subconsciously. Maybe there's a pattern that you say kind of snarky, or kind of like almost like very quiet but still mean comments to other people. They seem sarcastic, they seem funny, but still there's some sort of painful underlying thing that you're saying and expressing to other people. Now, these are all different defense mechanisms. These are all kind of things that we've learned because we have experienced some sort of pain, not get our needs met, just to name a few. But these are some of the things why we start to do the things we really do. And this is the dark night of the soul, is the time when you really become aware of these matters, aware of these patterns, and the thing, and also the thing underneath these that kind of starts to give you the hint that maybe you're hurting people, maybe it's not the best way to operate. And seeing these, especially in such big capacity, the dark nights of the soul can really bring these patterns into your face, so to speak. It can bring it really, so that you are really overwhelmed with these matters. So it's important part to remember that if you see your darkness, if you constantly see your dark side, kind of almost the thoughts in your mind, like, oh, am I really this bad of a person? Am I this kind of monster? These kinds of thoughts can come to you really during the dark night of the soul, and really want to kind of encourage you to see these patterns and see this time and this transformational time actually as literally as a time where you become aware of it. Why are you becoming aware of it? So that you can make the necessary changes. And it's actually, in the grand scheme of things, in the like big picture scheme of things, this is a really good thing to understand, to see, to deal with these matters, so that they're not like subconscious impulses still running around rampant, hurting people. And it doesn't mean only the dark night of the soul, or the eighth house ruler with Pluto, or hard aspect to Pluto. It doesn't only mean kind of how to put this now. It doesn't mean only you see these types of patterns. Like it can bring up also literally wounds that you have suppressed from the past, that you've forgotten about it, but in some shape or form, these pains or these wounds are keeping you as stuck energy, or keeping you from moving towards the next chapter, or the next phase, as we call it here in this series, in your life, or your spiritual development. So these can come up as well. This means at times there are going to be emotional triggers, emotional pains coming up. So there's, again, dark night of soul, so much can come all at once. It's so hard to deal with at times, quite painful. So you really need to kind of pace yourself. Remember, guys, Pluto transits, Pluto aspects take a long time to get through with. It's not going to be an easy, quick ride. Just a few words from my own experience. It took a really long time kind of to accept it. I was obviously seeking for help. I was asking for help, and I received it. But some of these, nights, some of these days, some of these weeks, some of these years, unfortunately, can really seem dark, can really take a long time to go through, to constantly transform, to see these patterns, to release these patterns, to kind of to see yourself in a way as a bad person. And I really urge you to kind of let that sink into you as well, to understand that the dark side is a part of you, that so quote unquote bad side of you is also there. You're capable of these dark things. You're capable. You saw in the previous phases, the phase 3 and phase 4, that you're capable of actually good things and light and spiritual knowledge and seeing big things. But now it's also a very, very dark time to accept your darkness, to accept your the bad, whatever that means, but it's still in our minds, in our left brain minds, we still judge things to be bad. So it is a time to see that, accept it. And one of the big things about the Dark Night of Soul is to show you that you are actually capable of these bad things as well. So you release judgment towards these things that are happening in the world, the things that are you are seeing in the world, and it's a lot because this period is actually, you know, one of the things it's doing, it's purging you of judgments, but it's also doing, let's say, a favor, you know, because it's showing you. It's kind of, let's put it even that way. It's preparing you to also be able to work with people who are going through these difficult times and judging themselves and others because of these patterns that you are now understanding about yourself, seeing that you're capable of doing these things, seeing that other people are capable of doing these things, and if you are accepting these themes yourself, or accepting these matters within yourself, it's easier to start releasing judgments towards others, and it's easier to start actually helping others as well. No, it is important, again, to understand it takes time. It will be hard. Definitely, it will be hard. It will seem like there's only darkness and you're a totally bad person. It's okay to allow yourself to feel and think that. It's good also to find help from, let's say, deeper people. When I say deeper people, I mean like deeper psychologists, deeper therapists who work in these realms of energy. They work in these spiritual realms, but they also have a foot in a kind of a more conventional psychological understanding. They have understanding of how energy moves within a family and within a family constellation, for example, family lineage, how the energy is moving there. So these people can help you. Also, astrology, very good. You know, it's actually one of the good things to do during the Dark Night of the Soul is to get really deep with astrology, numerology, to kind of go into deep into the psyche of the human, to kind of delve, to understand the psychology better, to understand yourself better. Obviously, have these people helping you out there as well, but do your own research as well. That will kind of ground that difficult energy, and you will start to understand these concepts, these ideas, these patterns, these pains, these wounds. You will start to understand these on a much deeper level than you, if you wouldn't do any kind of research or jumping into these places. Yeah, so really need to dig deep during this, and it's good obviously if you have somebody who you can trust, but it's also it's a kind of a lonely time as well, because looking at these darkness, these black holes, let's put it that way, it can take a lot out of you, and it can really bring you to a place of kind of solitude and wanting to be in solitude a lot. And yeah, just wish you well with these matters. Definitely, I wanted to show you. What else did I want to show you? I think this is the ruler of the first again with Pluto. What did I want to show you? Oh, this is one was an interesting one because we have Pluto on the ascendant, right on the ascendant, and I don't know. I think this wasn't it. Oh yes, this actually was. I wanted to show you this one. Sorry for that. But this actually, again, Pluto is giving a square to the ruler of the first as well. So one other thing I wanted to give you from an astrological point of view, whenever there's, look what Pluto rules in the chart as well. So if Pluto rules Scorpio, I mean, wherever is Scorpio, whatever Pluto rules, or wherever Scorpio is as a house, if it's more of the spiritual houses, more intuitive, the 4th, 12th, or 8th house, we can put the 9th in it as well a little bit, especially the 8th, if Pluto rules the 8th, you know. When Pluto rules these houses, and also gives an aspect to the ruler of the ascendant or the ascendant, we can, you know, say, especially if it's again the 8th, but 4th and 12th as well, these themes can also start to play, or come to play more strongly, even because remember, Pluto is Pluto on its own. But if we add, you know, some of these kind of more intuitive, spiritual, deeper houses, because the 4th house actually is a very deep emotional house, as well as the 12th house is a very subconscious house, 8th house, very, very deep wounds, pains, transformation. It rules in spiritual awakening, Kundalini energy. So if we put all of this mixture together, you can see that this is actually giving even more of a taste there as well. Let's say if it's only Pluto, and Pluto doesn't rule any of these houses, means Scorpio is not there, you know, it's still obviously going to be felt really strongly because it's Pluto. But still, remember, 4th, 8th, 12th gives an extra taste to your transformation, or a deep transformation as well. So guys, I dragged this on for quite a while now, but I wish you well during the dark night of the soul. Not the easiest, maybe even with the second phase, maybe one of the most difficult ones to go through. The rewards come in the next phase, which I will soon record for you as well and publish. So until then, thanks for watching, listening. Subscribe, like, share the video if you got something out of it, or if you know somebody's going through this difficult time and can use this information. And otherwise, see you again soon in the next video.